$1 trillion. That's how much one advocacy group says it will cost to treat people with Alzheimer's and other dementia by 2030. The new report from Alzheimer's Disease International says the cost is already 1% of the world's gross domestic product this year. Bloomberg's Pat Wechsler wrote about the report today. And Pat, these are huge numbers. How much is 1% of GDP in dollars?
$604 billion. So it's quite a bit of money that we're talking about, and that's currently in 2010 dollars.
You mentioned in your article how Alzheimer's and dementia diseases, they are seeing a lack of funding. How bad is it?
Well, you know, it's if you compare it to, say, cancer. Cancer has the National Cancer Institute gets something like $5 billion from the federal government, where the Alzheimer's, the National Institute on Aging, which is primarily aimed at Alzheimer's, gets like $1 billion. And there's far more sufferers from Alzheimer's, where I think the report said almost 36 million people have some form of dementia at this point. So that's a lot of people, and $1 billion doesn't go that far. And they're also at a point right now very close in research to figuring out some of the biomarkers and some of the causes of Alzheimer's. And so for that reason, you know, some funding at this point, it would be a very critical stage for them to get the funding.
Is this a number that they're using in order to try and sort of galvanize people?
I'm sure that's part of what they're looking at this report. They're hoping that policymakers will look at this report and say, you know, it's time to start focusing on Alzheimer's. But, you know, I think policymakers are aware of it because in January, the baby boomers are going to start turning 65. So, you know, you have this onslaught of people who are going to be aging. And as we live longer, we have a far greater chance of getting Alzheimer's. Something like 47% of anyone over 85 will have dementia, some form of dementia.
Pat, what role does embryonic stem cell research play in this debate now? Does that galvanize people as well?
Well, I mean, I think that they see that as one potential way of looking to find a cure for Alzheimer's. But, you know, it's hard to say whether that is, in fact, going to be the thing. I think they don't need that. They need to focus on the Alzheimer's, is what they're saying, to get the money so that they can move forward on the Alzheimer's research, because they can do some work without stem cells with the genetic testing. So I think that that's what they're looking for at this point.
You know, what role, though, does the government play? International groups have been urging the government to sort of step in and help with the funding of this research and of this treatment.
Well, in the United States, the National Institutes of Health supply the vast majority of the money that goes into research. I mean, without the federal funding, there would not be this basic science research, because basically companies at this point don't want to put the money into such early research. They're looking at more phase 3 and, you know, phase 4 trials. So when they actually have a drug, they have a product that they know they can bring to market. But when you go back to basic science research, it's the NIH that comes through for doing that, for getting the money for the basic science.
So they're the ones who are doing the nuts, and they're doing the dirty work. I hate to use that phrase, but it's the only thing I think of.
More on the detection,
Well, they're doing the risky
it.
work. They're doing the money. Let's give it to the scientists. Let's see what they can find. Can they find an answer? They don't know if they're going to find an answer. With the companies, they want a little more of a sure thing than that. But so they're very dependent upon the federal government. And when the federal government sets its mind on it, the way it did with the AIDS, when they said, okay, we're going to come up with something with AIDS, in a very short time, they turned that from a death sentence to, in fact, a disease that people can live a very long time with, you know, and sustain themselves through, you know, the cocktails that they give. But they haven't done that with Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's at this point, there's nothing.
All right, Pat Wechsler joining us on set. Pat, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.